Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. And today we're doing things a little different. We actually are on a Zoom with a special guest. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a little about who you are?
Hi, everybody. My name is Allison Hill, and I have two children. I have a ministry with my husband. It's Even Now Ministries, and we currently pastor a church that is in Chesapeake, Virginia.
And we just love you guys. You guys are a powerhouse team, and we were so excited to have you visit Trans4mation Church, and that's how we met. And we wanted just to bring you on to hear a little bit about your journey and your story of some things that you went through that were hard, but you have overcome. So tell us
Yes.
back to where things started to get off course for you.
um, it's a lot, and so what I will say is, for when I was in high school, I had like a void, and I had this need that I wanted to fit in, and there was all of this, around me, and I started using drugs at a very young age, and it was a way to take myself outside of myself. And so that started in high school, and it was
Wow.
a 19-year process. I always say, thank God I don't look like what I've been through, because it was 19 years of my life of
Wow.
using. And so,
Allison, I have a quick question. When you
yeah.
say that there was a void, is that, did you realize that looking back, or you knew it then? You know what I
honestly
mean?
didn't know it at the time.
Okay.
I didn't know what I was trying to do. I
Yes.
just knew that I liked taking myself outside of
Yes.
myself.
I think frequently,
And what I'll say, oh, go ahead.
I think frequently as believers, we don't realize it until we get on the other side, and then we look back and say, oh, I was so empty and I was trying to fill that. I just wondered.
Yes, yeah, and that's what it is, because now we notice it as it's a Jesus shaped hole.
Yes.
That's the void. And so we're trying to stuff things of the world inside of there, and
Yes.
nothing fits properly. And really what we're doing is just making the hole bigger.
Amen.
It goes for anything, right? So
It
it could
does.
be shopping, it could be food. I mean, you try to fill the Jesus shaped void that we all have.
Yeah.
You try to fill it with things of the world, and it doesn't work.
Yes.
And so you just keep making the hole bigger, and you keep making it worse. And then, like you said, when you look back, because once you find Jesus, you're like, this fits perfectly. And once that
It's
happens,
true.
then you know. Then you know that that's what it was. And it was like, so it's easy for me to say that looking back. And but at the time, I didn't know that, as a drug addict, that if I took the first one, that I'd never be able to shut that thing off. And so it spiraled out of control. What I will say is that in that time, I had a praying father. And so I'll get emotional. I'll often say that, like, and we know this, God listens to the prayers when you're praying for your children. And so I'm like, my dad had been praying for 19 years before his prayer was answered, but he remained faithful in that, because anytime I'd call my dad, his response was always, well, let's just pray. Let's just pray. He was just a praying father. And so I know that it was through his prayers, because I wasn't praying for me. I didn't want Jesus. I didn't want life. I was okay with, the only thing I used to say is, God, just make this my last one and just take my life, because I don't want to live anymore.
All you
Because it
could
was that
listen
bad.
to is the lie of the addiction.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
The enemy is such a lie. And so that addiction had a hold of me.
Yes.
And so my husband and I will often say that, the enemy should have took me while he had me.
Yeah.
Because now we're about our Father's business.
Yeah.
I
Amen.
love
We
that.
go back to
That's
the
right.
fire. That's what we do. We go back to the fire. We have a jail ministry that we do. We just went to a rehab in Pittsburgh on Monday while we're home visiting. We still do that because we believe that that's what's missing. And we know that there's a lost and dying world, and that the world needs Jesus.
Yeah.
That's really what you need. And once you taste and see that the Lord is good, once you get an appetite for Jesus, then that's when everything changes and that's when everything shifts. And so in my story, God was always evident. When I talk about my recovery story, right, we talk about when we share our testimony, this is how we overcome. Because I've had somebody ask me before, you're not ashamed of it. And I'm like, ashamed of what? This is what God did in my life.
That's right.
I didn't deserve it. And God said, here, I'm going to pick you and I'm going to use you and I'm going to, and so it's my testimony that's God given. And I'm not ashamed of any of it because I'm so grateful for it. But God was so evident in my life. There was 2 car accidents specifically that I got into. And the one I drove off a cliff, and
Oh my goodness.
when it happened, when I was like midair, I literally said, "Dear God, I wish I had my seatbelt on today." That's what came out of my mouth. And I was, midair, and I seen the tops of trees. And when my car hit, my head had hit on the windshield, and it knocked me completely unconscious. And so when I woke up, I was at the bottom of this big hill, this like cliff. And I thought that the car was on fire because when all of the airbags deployed, it's smoky. And I woke up and I was confused, and I thought that the car was on fire, and my ankle was kind of mangled, and I was pinned in between 2 trees. And I had to grab on the passenger side window, all the windows were busted out, and pull myself out. And I was laying on the ground, and there was a man that was yelling. He was yelling, "Is everybody okay? Is everybody okay?" And he was coming down the hill, and I'm like, "It's just me, and I'm okay." And he got down there, and he said, "Do you believe in angels?" And I said, "Yeah, I believe in angels." And he said, "Good, because I need you to know that there was an angel that steered your car when it hit the ground to make sure that you didn't hit any of those trees head on." And I looked, and I could see where my car had hit, and then it just kind of like maneuvered through all of these trees. And I said, "Okay, now remind you, at the time, I'm using drugs, so I'm not really connected to say." And I'm thinking about drugs because I'm on my way to go get drugs. And I said, "Sir, can you just find my cigarettes?" At the time I smoked, right? That was the least of my problems at that time. I said, "Sir, can you find my cigarettes?" And he said, "Are you serious?" And I said, "You see that hill I just came over? I'm so serious, I need a cigarette." And he goes, "Well, I don't even smoke cigarettes, but when I find them, I might need one." And he goes, because I didn't know what I was going to come down here to. And I said, "Sir, when you find them, you can have them. Just give me one. That's all I want, is just one." And he did. And I was smoking my cigarette, and I was in and out of consciousness. And
Allison,
to get me up over the hill.
There we go.
Hold on one
Allison,
second.
hang on one second.
Allison.
Allison.
Go ahead.
We lost you for a
Yes.
second, so if you could start from
Okay.
when you had the cigarette, if you remember.
Yes.
Okay.
So, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So I asked him for the cigarette, and he said, "I don't smoke cigarettes, but when I find them, I might need one." I said, "You can have them all." And so I was in and out of consciousness. And when the ambulance and fire department came, they had to get down there, and they had to strap me into like a bucket to get me up back over the hill. My car was obviously totaled. And I said, "Where's the man that was down here with me that helped me? Where's the man?" And they're like, "There was no man." And I said, "No, there was a guy who gave me these cigarettes. He was down here with me." And they said, "Nobody could get down here to you. There was nobody." And so I remember telling my dad the story in the hospital. And my dad said, "That was the Lord, and he sent an angel." And my dad was crying, and he said, "He protected you. He told you. This is why he asked you if you believed in angels." That was the first thing out of his mouth, because that's who he was. And my dad's like, "What did he look like?" And I said, "Now that you say it, I don't know. I just know that he was there, and he did give me my cigarettes, and he sat with me." And my dad said, "Okay, And at the time, mind was engulfed by drugs at the time. But when I look back now, it's so evident how God protected and because I shouldn't be here. And so that's like one of my favorite stories. I know that how God was so evident and I can look back on it. I had checked into rehab.
She's not.
Is it frozen?
There you
You're
are.
good.
You're good.
About checking into rehab. Yep.
Okay. When I checked into rehab, I had checked into rehab so many times before. I had been arrested and been to jail. And I just really thought that there was nothing for me. I really truly believed that I was just going to die a drug addicted. You often, for me, check myself into rehab. You mean it at the time, but like it never stuck. And so when I went into rehab, my dad, I went into rehab on November 30th of 2014. And you do detox for about 3 days, and then you go downstairs and you can call your family. And so I had reached out to my family, and my brother had said that my dad found out he had cancer and he was in an emergency surgery. And I remember crying about it because at the time I had a son that was 10 years old, and my dad was raising him because I couldn't even raise myself, let alone a child. And I didn't have a home. I was living on the streets. I mean, I was completely homeless. And I called home and I found out about my dad. And I remember I went, and so it was December 3rd, and I went upstairs to my room and I was crying. I often will say that the Lord gave me my son for something to fight for, because I didn't care enough about myself and I didn't want to fight for myself, but I wanted to get clean for him because I wanted to be a mother. And so I was up in my room, and I remember I got a pillow and I put it on the ground and I got on my knees. And I kept saying, Lord, if you're just so good like everybody else says. It wasn't that I thought he was good, because my life was so miserable. And I truly just didn't know if he was good. And I just kept saying, if you're so good, like everybody else says that you're good, and everybody else tells me that you're good, then do something with my life. I'll just give you, but just do something with me in this now, Lord. On it. I'll give you all I am, Lord. It's nothing. I literally have nothing.
What do you want us to do, Troy?
Just pause for a moment. We actually lost
Oh,
Man, there was such good stuff in that.
that was.
Recording in progress.
We lost you for a second. Sorry.
it. Hold on.
It's okay. I knew it because I saw that it froze.
Hang on a second. Troy's going to do something.
Okay.
What time is? What's our time?
We're at time right now.
Are we?
Need to get her here in real life.
I know.
We may need to reconnect here just a minute.
Do you know this is streaming live on YouTube right now? Kathy Manning texted me.
She's live on YouTube?
Yep, it sure is. Kathy Manning texted me and said, are we supposed to be live streaming right now?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my. We're working on it.
Goodness.
Another thing, food's supposed to be picked up in 9 minutes.
Okay.
You gonna go? Oh, sorry. Did she just sit? Do you have her text or anything, Kelly?
Yeah.
Text her to tell her to try to reconnect. It's on YouTube, she said?
Yep, I'm watching it live right now.
Okay. Okay.
Say something about, let them know that,
Who?
Who?
like,
Oh,
YouTube.
friends, we know that we are right now live on Facebook, and we don't mean to be.
YouTube.
I mean, YouTube, not Facebook, YouTube. But if you are enjoying this, good for you. We're glad you're with us right now. And you can see what it's really like on Let's Talk About It
Yes.
studio day.
Is it
Yeah.
the church? Where?
Transformation Church. I heard that.
I think I'm gonna share this stuff.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, Parker sent me something too.
Did you tell her to reconnect?
Yeah, I don't know if she's reading it, but yeah, I sent it.
Lord. So you get a behind the scenes
Behind the
tour.
scenes tour, that's right.
Yeah.
With our guest, Allison Hill,
Yes.
who is fabulous. And we're trying to fix some technical issues that we have.
And it was so powerful.
Which we have a lot of on film day, but you never get to
You
see
never
those.
get to see those things.
But we have people watching.
And we do actually have people watching
Yeah.
right now.
Hey, we might get a bigger following because of
Got a
it.
comment from a guy says, I want to know more about this lady.
Yeah.
Oh,
Her name
really?
is Allison Hill. That is awesome. What
Yes.
is their ministry name? What is it?
It's Jed Hill Ministries or something like
Jed?
that. Isn't
No,
it,
it's
Troy?
Even
What is
Now.
it?
Even
Now, yes,
Now
Even Now.
Ministries. Even Now Ministries out of Chesapeake, Virginia.
You know what? I don't even know how to turn it off.
Oh my goodness.
Well, you know what? Let's don't worry about it.
Yeah, we'll
Let's
just
don't
keep.
worry about it. We're going to let
Okay,
you just
she's back.
keep on seeing.
Okay.
Allison is back. We got her back.
I'm back.
Hi, Allison.
Hi, y'all.
Okay, we're going to try to wrap this up is what we're going to do. And then Troy, when he
Recording
edits,
in progress.
Troy and Brendan will edit and put it together for our regular
Yes.
Let's Talk About It, okay?
Perfect.
Troy, where would you like her to,
Where,
what
where
would
do
you,
you think we started losing it?
Um,
A little bit of the rehab discussion, I think, at the end.
when
you can
you,
go to- yeah.
when you were talking about
your,
desiring to become a mom,
yes.
and you
that
couldn't
your
do it for
son-
yourself, but you
Yes.
could do it for him. Yes.
Yes.
Did you guys hear the part where I surrendered to the Lord? Did
No.
we hear that or no?
No.
No.
No, we didn't hear that part, but please start there.
Yes.
Like
Okay.
right now?
Yep,
Ready?
yep,
Go
go ahead.
ahead. Go right ahead.
So I had went upstairs to my room and I had put a pillow on the floor. And I remember crying out to the Lord in that moment. And I kept saying, Lord, if you're so good, like everybody says you're good, because I wasn't convinced that the Lord was good because my life was so terrible. But everybody would always tell me that the Lord was good. And so I just cried out. And so I kept saying, Lord, if you're so good, like everybody says that you are, then do something with my life. I give you all that I am. I don't want to be in charge anymore. I just want you to do something with me. If you're so good, then show me, use me. At the time, I didn't even know what I was doing. I didn't even realize what I was stepping into. I just knew that I had tried every other thing. Nothing else had worked. And it was like, give Jesus a shot. Just go up there and just surrender to him, right? You've surrendered to the drugs. You've surrendered to police officers. You've surrendered just go up there and just surrender to Jesus and let's just see. And when I tell you guys, because my heart was in the right posture because I meant it. And even though it wasn't a beautiful prayer. It wasn't like, God, you're great. It was like, I don't know if you are, Lord. The Lord was so immediate with me.